And welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung, and today I am joined for another Behind the Enemy Lines segment, Sofia Ramirez of Broncos in Mexico, and a former employee of the Denver Broncos themselves. How are you, Miss Sofia?
I'm very well, thank you. Excited to be here with you.
All right, awesome. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the Denver Broncos, how they match up with the Dolphins, some of the things that the Broncos are currently going through, and how that is going to affect the game that's going to be coming up on Sunday. But before we do that really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that, as always, this show is brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each, it's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, and of course, today, as you are listening to this, it is Flex Friday, which means there's going to be a special where you can either get your money back if you lose up to $20 or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up if you are any kind of a fantasy sports fan. So use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5, FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with. Get started winning today. Don't let that Flex Friday promo pass you by. And this show is also brought to you by our good friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing Company. For the past couple of weeks, 5 Reasons Sports has been hosting a watch party to watch the Miami Dolphins, and Biscayne Bay Brewing Company is the place where we have been. Located in downtown Miami, they are the only brewing company in downtown Miami. They're locally and independently owned, official lager of the Miami Marlins, and partners of the Miami Heat. They do have $6 beers available for you for Sundays to watch Dolphins games, so make sure you're heading on over there. Biscayne Bay Brewing Company, proud sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. All right, Sofia, so let's get right into this. So tell me a little bit about what's going on with the Broncos right now, because I know that there's a lot of connections that they've had with the Dolphins in the past. Obviously, Vic Fangio used to be the Denver Broncos head coach. He is now returning to go to face the Broncos. And granted, they're going to be in Miami, but they're going to be facing off against each other. I know that Vic Fangio went ahead and he said that the quote-unquote revenge angle is very overstated in NFL circles. A lot of people want to act like and pretend that, oh, we're so angry, we're so bitter towards everybody that we're going to make sure that you pay for what you've done. And so I, to some extent, had talked about that during previous shows, talking about how, oh, Vic Fangio probably wants to get one on them because they fired him. And Bradley Chubb, he got traded to the Dolphins from the Broncos. Butch Berry, a lot in the media over there in Denver, I believe they said some not so nice things about him after he left. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on everything. What's going to be going on with the Denver Broncos when they show up in Miami?
I don't know if I actually believe in revenge games per se, but I really believe that Big Fangio is going to take this game and give it his whole. And that's a big problem for the Denver Broncos. He has inside knowledge of the players, their strengths, their weaknesses, how the roster is handled, how the organization actually functions. Even if there's a new ownership group, everything's very alike as when Vic was here as a head coach. So I really believe that the Denver Broncos are going to struggle a lot on Sunday against the Dolphins, not only with the offense, but also on that side.
So now I want to talk a little bit more about the Butch Berry thing. So from what Dolphins fans have been able to ascertain so far, there's been a lot of improvement, or at least that's what it feels like, on the offensive line side of things. So we have now Kendall Lamb, who's filling in currently for Teron Armstead. We're still waiting to see if Armstead actually plays on Sunday. If he does not, it'll probably be Kendall Lamb again, but he's been playing pretty much lights out at left tackle. Obviously, Isaiah Wynn, he's coming back from his injury history, going to be playing left guard again. Right guard, Robert Hunt, he's been fantastic all the way around. But the real story is that Austin Jackson, who was looking like the biggest draft bust the Dolphins have had in a very long time, other than Noah Igbenogany, who was drafted in the same draft, but that's a Dolphins failure for another time. But Austin Jackson seems to be playing a lot better than he usually does. And a lot of that is being attributed to the fact that Butch Berry just has a very different style of coaching. So what kind of insight can you offer on how Butch does things, how he's like when he's coaching? I don't know how much of that you've actually observed.
Okay, for starters, Denver Broncos fans actually have a little bit to say about Butch Berry, but I don't think that's very much Butch Berry's fault. We came he came to the team after Mike Munchak. So, of course, following that footsteps, so it's a little hard to do for any coach. He was a first-time coach, even though he's been in the NFL for years. He has all the experience in the world, everything. That was his first time being the O-line coach ever. So those are big shoes to fill. So I don't actually blame him for everything. And also we've had changes in our roster every year and our offensive scheme. So also when you draft a player and they're playing a total different offense from what they were drafted to do or to play, it's going to be hard to adjust. So for me, it's also a lack of consistency in our O-line, a lack of depth, and a lack of talent. So it's not only Butch Berry, but also the previous administration as a whole and the shoes he had to fill. So if the Miami Dolphins are looking better with Butch Berry, I believe you. Also, they needed a lot of help, and he has the experience, so I trust him. His experience with the Denver Broncos was a little rough, and I don't blame him a lot for that.
Yeah, a lot of it came from the talk about how Butch was not particularly gentle with the players, that he was extremely how do I put this in a way that's nice? He yelled at them a lot. He was not your friend. He was your drill sergeant, for lack of a better term, when it came to the offensive line situation. And I don't know if I'm still not 100% sure if there's like any proof of the whole leaving sticky notes in the locker to basically say, hey, get your act together. That's maybe not the gentlest way of handling things, but maybe there are just some players out there who require a more strict hand than maybe some of the guys in the Broncos locker room are looking for.
Yeah, sure. It depends on the person, just like a school and teaching method. So, yeah, I believe that if they are responding well to that kind of coaching, then good for you. That's it. It might be working better with the Miami Dolphins than it is with the Denver side of things. But
yeah. So now what I want to talk about next is, so obviously you guys are under a new regime right now. Sean Payton has just walked into Denver, and he is being tasked with revitalizing Russell Wilson's career. Last year was it probably one of the worst years in Russell Wilson's career. I don't know if maybe it's because of the scheme, if it's Nathaniel Hackett just not being a particularly good head coach. The other thing about it, though, is that I wanted to ask you about this because Sean Payton, while he was acting as a member of the analyst group's media, he was saying some things about Nathaniel Hackett, like he was calling him out for being not so great as a coach, which I feel like is a dangerous game to play because now you're back in the coaching room. And he also said some things about Tua while he was in the media. So now, has he said anything recently about either of those guys that are, or specifically even about Tua, that has maybe he's walked back a little bit his previous comments?
not so much walking back, but he said some things mostly about Nathaniel Hackett and about basically eliminating everything that was wrong last year. Basically everything that was going on within the organization, the coaching staff, the music, the everything. Okay,
Music.
It's gone. Yeah, we had music at training, so that's gone. The let's ride kind of thing, Broncos country, let's ride, that's gone. Basically everything from Nathaniel Hackett. We're gonna do things differently this year, and that's all he said. A little bit nicer, but still throwing some stones at Nathaniel Hackett and his way of teaching.
And has so far, from what you can tell, has there been like any improvement in certain areas with Sean Payton heading things now?
I believe so. Of what I've seen from the Denver Broncos on the offensive side of things are getting better. I've seen a different Russell Wilson, even if he was inconsistent, even if we've lost both of our games. I've seen a different side of players, and mostly because of the talent. Of course, you see Russell Wilson, you expect to see the Russell Wilson people remember from the Seattle Seahawks. He's young, he's mobile, he's the freaking MVP. But of course, that's a different era. That's different circumstances. And of course, he's older now. Also different scheme, and he's not very accustomed to having a different coach. But I've seen him get better from what we saw last year with Nathaniel Hackett. He seems more comfortable. He's moving a lot more, and he sees the field a little better. I've seen him make less mistakes. He's not eliminating them. He has some huge ones, but still, he's way better than what I saw last year from the offensive side. So I've seen the team get better in many, many ways. Now my question is towards the defense and how it's going to look a few weeks from now and how they can actually not only revamp Russell Wilson's career, but the Broncos as a unit, as a whole, as a team.
So you mentioned already the offense and how things are getting a little bit better on that side. Now, the defense, though, here's another one of those connections between the Dolphins and the Broncos that we've had. Back in 2016, Vance Joseph was the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, and shortly after that, he went ahead and became the Denver Broncos head coach from 2017 to 2018. So, obviously, at least in the minds of Dolphins fans, Vance Joseph was not considered a highly regarded defensive coordinator. There were some that were defending him, saying he didn't quite have the talent. He was being micromanaged, or there were things along those lines. Now, you've had experience now with Vance Joseph, both as a head coach and as a defensive coordinator. Have things gotten any better than from what Dolphins fans have perceived, or is Vance Joseph still? I literally got a comment just today asking about Vance Joseph and saying, "Oh, please, can you guys absolutely kick the crap out of him so we can fire him?" I don't know if you agree with that stance.
Of course, from the Denver Broncos side of things, after he was head coach, people were angry about the record. People were angry about the results we were having, and we never wanted to see him again. It was like, okay, thank you for being here. You're not a head coach material. Go play defensive coordinator for someone else. And it was kind of working. So what I've been hearing from other people is that Vance Joseph was not the first option for defensive coordinator in the Denver Broncos. Of course, it was Ejiro Evero from last year, but he didn't want to return to Denver. Then it was a little call to actually Vic Fangio, who said, well, yeah, too soon. I just went there. I'm not going to do that again to myself. And they called up Vance Joseph, and he ended up being on the Denver Broncos coaching staff. So he wasn't our first pick, or, well, the first pick for the team. I don't know how to feel exactly. I regard him as a good defensive coordinator, but we've grown accustomed to greatness, and that's my thing. We had this unit that was working cohesively. It was working nicely. We had not only depth, but sometimes we had such great coaches that even if we didn't have the level of or ability or talent, we could make do with a play calling. But right now, I saw a very different game from the Raiders in week one to the Commanders in week two. Of course, that's been the talk all about the Denver Broncos media, like what's happening to the team. We were so accustomed to having great defense. What's wrong with that? Should Vance Joseph get fired or not? People were all like asking for his head already. It's like it's week two, so we're reactionary as a fandom. So I don't know what to tell you, but he wasn't that well received because of what Denver saw of him as a head coach. But they regard him well as defensive coordinator till last week.
Yeah, I know. I can understand why they would be a little bit hesitant to accept him, because they're right off the heels of him coaching the team as a whole. So they're probably remembering this guy and being like, why did we bring back the guy that we didn't want in the first place? So I can understand where they're feeling. I can definitely understand also where you're accustomed to greatness. Ejiro Evero is a very, very strong coach, that from what I can see. So now you guys do have a lot of the same talent, at least on the defensive side of things. I don't know if Justin Simmons is going to be healthy enough to play. I think there was some talk about whether he was going to play or not. Do you have any what was the latest reports on him? Because I'm not privy to Broncos country. I'm privy to Dolphins. I'm keeping an eye on Teron Armstead. So what's the latest on Justin Simmons? Is he going to be playing?
I don't actually know if he's playing or not. He had a hip injury and he did not practice today, so we're hopeful. But we don't know still. That secondary is a little bit iffy. Of course, I don't know if you saw the game or not, but Kareem Jackson had this huge heat on Logan Thomas, and on Sunday he wasn't suspended, so glad he's back. Caden Stearns, another safety, is out for the whole season. We have Turner Yell, who was drafted last year, but he's basically a rookie. He hasn't played much. And other than that, we have a very strange combination of cornerbacks. We have, of course, Patrick Surtain. He's a superstar, but then we have Demario Mathis, who's been getting burnt week after week. And then we have Essang Bassi and rookies. So we're a little thin there. So I don't know what to tell you. Of course, if Justin Simmons doesn't play, that will affect us tremendously. Also for the lack of depth in the roster defensively. I don't know. I hope he plays, also considering what we need to face. You have Waddle. I don't know if he's playing, so that'd be...
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like, we don't have an official report yet, but I'm going to go ahead and say no, because the situation with the Dolphins, and I'm sure that everybody in the whole NFL world was privy to everything that happened in Miami last season. Everything that had anything to do with concussion protocol, Tua had dealing with what he was dealing with, and then 1 week later, Teddy Bridgewater stumbles and he gets kicked out of the game after one play, which, by the way, he did not stumble. And there's nobody who can look at that film and say, oh yeah, there was a concussion stumble there. Somebody in the front offices of the NFL were saying, nope, Dolphins need to be punished. We're going to take Teddy Bridgewater out because Sauce Gardner hit him once. I'm like, I'm sorry. No, you guys are very, very transparent about how you feel about that. That's my conspiracy theory. I feel like it's a conspiracy theory that a lot of people believe, but regardless of that, I am feeling that the Dolphins are very gun shy about this sort of thing, and they're looking at Jalen Waddle, who was listed as a concussion. Mind you, he's not really showing any symptoms that we can see, but they're just going to be like, you know what, just take the week off. I really don't want the NFL crawling up our butts saying you guys did something terrible again. We're going to instigate another investigation into you guys. I'm like, it was your evaluator. Why are you investigating us? But that's a different story. So I don't think you'll have to deal with Jalen Waddle so much, but that does mean that you're probably going to have to count on Patrick Surtain to try to handle Tyreek Hill, and that's going to be a bear. Has he had to deal with anybody on the level of I guess the skill set that Tyreek Hill has had? There are a lot of people who will say that other players are better than Tyreek, but not necessarily have his skill set.
That's really the question. What I've seen of PS2, or we call him PS2, Patrick Surtain II. He's great. And he's great. He's a shutdown corner, and he has the ability to actually do that. For example, Davante Adams during the offseason, he was saying, yeah, he's not at that level of play. Okay, you didn't do anything while he was covering you on the Raiders game. So what's the deal? He's great. Mind you, the Denver Broncos actually know how to play Tyreek Hill, so we've been accustomed to that level of talent, that speed for years. He's been burning our defenses left and right. Don't worry about that. My biggest worry was if I have to cover for Tyreek Hill and also Jalen Waddle. That was my big worry. Of course, we have Patrick Surtain, but we don't have someone on the other side to actually be... I don't want to say something awful, so I'm going to say competent.
Sometimes you have to use words that are not fun. Believe me, I've called the Dolphins out on many things many times, and I'm sure if they're listening, they're like, hey, what's the deal? I'm like, well, do better. Don't show me stuff on tape that I don't want to see, but that's a different discussion. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to make our picks here. I like to do this game here where I'm going to pick my zero, my hero, and then make the actual score. So since we're going to be on opposite ends of the spectrum here, I'm going to ask you real quick. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you to give your zero, your hero, and what the score is for the Broncos. Zero means the guy who's not going to do a whole lot, and the guy that the hero is going to be, this is the reason the Broncos will win that game.
Oh my God. Okay. From defense or the offense?
It doesn't matter.
Both?
It's your choice. You can pick whichever.
Oh my God. Okay. Now you're actually getting me a little nervous here. I want to say my hero is going to be Jerry Jeudy. We didn't see a lot of him last week. Of course, he was coming off from injury, and people have been waiting to see what he's actually capable of. Last week, he was a little disappearing act. He had little snaps, little touches here and there, but didn't actually make a difference during the game. So I want to see him as my hero this week.
So he's your breakout for the game.
Yes, hopefully. This is being me being hopeful.
So your zero doesn't mean he's going to be bad, just means he's not going to have an impact.
Oh my God. Zero impact. Ugh.
I know it's hard. Yeah,
Oh, it's very hard.
I
You put
put
me in
my
the spot.
I put my own people on the spot with Dolphin stuff, and they're like, "Oh man, I hate this part." I'm like, "I'm sorry, this is how I do things."
You should know better. You've been invited before. Duh. I want to say McGlinchey. It's been a little bit of trouble coming to the roster with he's been having flags and penalties, and I want to say he's just going to be another regular guy.
So
On
not really
Sunday.
living up to the contract.
Not living to the contract, but on Sunday he's just going to be okay. You don't
Okay.
even see him. He's going to be fine. Like,
Okay.
you don't matter.
Okay, so he's not. I'll
No
take
penalties. That's better for me.
that. All right, I'll take that. So for me, I'm gonna go ahead and pick my zero, my hero. So for the Dolphins, the zero I'm gonna go ahead and pick here is gonna be based on the offensive side of things. I'm gonna go ahead and say that my zero for this game, I've been having more time to think about it. I said on my other show, Pulse of Fins Nation, which is the live show, I said that my hero was going to be Devon Achane because I figured, you know what, he's going to get more touches. He's going to get more opportunities to play. He's going to get more opportunities to actually get something done. But there's something about this team that has me a little bit concerned. And people have been telling me about how this is a trap game. Don't underestimate the Broncos. They're 0-2. They're probably desperate. They don't want to end up 0-3. So my zero for this game is going to actually be Austin Jackson. At this point, I don't think that was who I picked last time. I think I picked probably like Jason Sanders or something because I don't want any more field goals because Jason Sanders can't kick. He fired his kicking coach a few years back, and I think that literally happened right before he started to suck. So I think there is a correlation there. I'm so sorry. So hey, Jason, hire Brent Grablachoff back. But anyway, that's a different thing. So I'm thinking now, let's have more time to reflect. I'm thinking Austin Jackson might start to show some dangerous tendencies back to what he was before he started playing well. My guess on that is based on the fact that Teron Armstead is going to be back at left tackle, which means that Kendall Lamb, who is the swing tackle, he's going to be available now to possibly play right tackle. And Austin Jackson, up until this point, has been told over and over and over again that you're the guy. There's nobody standing in your way. It is your job to lose. If you had to choose between Kendall Lamb and Austin Jackson and watch them on film, one guy is doing a lot better than the other guy. And so I'm wondering if Kendall Lamb is going to suddenly feel the shadow of if Austin Jackson is going to feel Kendall Lamb's shadow looming over him, and something in here is going to snap. So he needs to, I think he either needs to make sure his act stays together, or he's going to end up getting benched. And not a lot of Dolphins fans are going to mind that. So I think he's going to be my zero for the game. My hero for the game, like I said, I think it's going to be Devon Achane. I think that since the Dolphins, obviously they may not have Jalen Waddle, they're going to need to find some place to fill in that speed gap. So I think that after last week against the New England Patriots, Tua is going to feel a little more comfortable getting it to the running backs in space. I think they're going to try to get it to Devon Achane a little bit more often since Savon Ahmed is dealing with some injury issues. So if this may be the game where he actually breaks out, Dolphins fans everywhere are hoping that, because they're hoping that Devon Achane is going to be the running back for the future. So
that's quite interesting, because actually I was listening to some Broncos fans saying about the ability of the defense to stop the run. Like, we were expecting a high impact, and they haven't been that much. I mean, we were able to stop Josh Jacobs from running 3,000 yards, which is the usual, but we haven't seen much from Zach Allen. We haven't seen much from the people that we were expecting to see. Also, Mike Purcell is questionable, so maybe this week is one of those. Maybe you're right.
Well, the thing with the Dolphins is that if they're gonna run the ball, it's probably gonna be Raheem Mostert. I'm looking to see if Devon Achane ends up being like I keep finding people, and I don't know why I'm so hooked on this. I've been hooked on this for years now. Is that I want to find the Darren Sproles of the Miami Dolphins. You remember Darren Sproles, the longtime Eagles guy? He's just like, he was so dangerous as a pass catcher out of the backfield. I'm looking for that guy, and I think Devon Achane could be it. So that's going to be my hero for the game. So now the fun part, we're going to have to choose who wins the game. So who wins and what's the score?
The Dolphins, like 37-21.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's gonna be awful. I'm sorry, Broncos country. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're gonna get demolished.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
I'll tell you what, you're the first one who's come on the show and said, "Oh, no, sorry, the Dolphins are going to win." But it's actually
Really?
because I had Colby Fowler come on to say the Patriots are going to find a way to win, and granted they almost did. I hate that they almost did. I don't know why I was having to sweat it out at on the fourth quarter, but that's just how rival games go. I guess is like even if you're supremely better than them on every board, it's like somehow they find a way to make it difficult. But that's how it always goes. And as far as the Chargers thing went, yeah, I had Arjun on, and he was talking about how he thinks the Chargers were going to win. Justin Herbert was going to get the job done. I suspected that Justin Herbert was going to blow it in the fourth quarter, and that's exactly what he did. So it's like you can set your clock by it. I'm sorry, Arjun, if you're listening.
No, I try to be honest with myself and honest with my people. The Broncos are going to lose. If they don't lose, if they actually manage to win this game, I'm going to be surprised and excited. But that's going to be a big surprise for me. I don't expect them to win. They're not at that level of play. They're getting used to each other and used to another coaching staff again. They haven't found the rhythm on offense. On defense, they've been regressing. So I don't see how they can actually be there until the end, comparing themselves to the Dolphins. So yeah, we're gonna lose.
Well, I mean, I appreciate your honesty. I don't know if you're right because it's very interesting.
It's the NFL.
The NFL, yes.
Any given Sunday.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was going to bring up. I sent out a tweet and I said it outright, is that if the Dolphins don't trash the Broncos, I'm going to be disappointed, because I feel like that if we're going to talk about this team as a potential Super Bowl contender, then you have to raise your level of expectations for who the Dolphins can beat at any given Sunday. You can't keep saying that, oh, it's any given Sunday. Oh, the Broncos are 0-2. Oh, they're angry. They're desperate. The Dolphins are going to be in a trap game. Trap games don't exist for Super Bowl contenders. You think the Chiefs ever worry about this is their trap game? This is the game that's going to ruin the season. The Chiefs don't worry about that sort of stuff. They have Patrick Mahomes and they can win any game they want. So if we're going to look at the Dolphins and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're aiming for, then there is no trap game. The Dolphins should, and Dolphins fans should expect, and I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm being terrible, but it's like the Dolphins should expect to beat the Broncos. And they should. And if they don't, then yes, I feel like there is a right to say, what the heck happened there? Where did you guys go wrong? Because I'm just based on a talent level, maybe not necessarily coaching. I don't want to say coaching because I know who Sean Payton is. He has a Hall of Fame pedigree. But at least talent-wise, I feel like at wide receiver, there's more talent between Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. We don't know if Waddle's going to play. I'm going to say no. As far as the offensive line, I know that I guess you guys are trying to adapt to the new guy. I don't know. Who is the new guy over there, by the way?
Yeah, Zach Strief.
So is this a first time thing? I've never even heard of him before.
Yeah, offensive line for the first time.
Is he doing all right from your perspective?
We've had a lot of penalties, and I think the center Lloyd Cushenberry is actually getting better. So that's a little promising. Garrett Bowles is not regressing. He's been fine. McGlinchey and Ben Powers have been awful. So I have no idea how to actually. Yeah, I don't know.
But Quinn Miners is a dude Dolphins fans wanted badly.
Oh, he's great. I love him. That's why I didn't say anything about him. He was not in my worry list. But yeah, Ben Powers and McGlinchey have been awful. So I have no idea how to actually rank him as a coach from now. We've only had 2 games, so I need to see a little more from the offensive line in general. Yeah, I haven't been very happy with the state of the offensive line in the last couple of years, but it's mostly due to talent. So now it's a little bit about the coaching and the talent that I don't know which to blame.
So Dolphins fans have been trying to figure that out themselves for a very long time. All right, Sofia, thank you so much for joining me. Real quickly, just tell everybody where they can find you so that way they can follow you on all your socials and where you're at, what you're working on.
Yeah, of course, on X or Twitter or however you want to call it, at Sofia_Ramirez G. And of course, in Broncos in Mexico or Broncos in Mexico, however you want to say it. Exactly. I'm from Mexico City, so
the right way is Mexico, right?
Exactly, but from Mexico City, you're in
don't
the
spell it
US.
how it sounds.
Exactly. You can find me there. I usually, I tweet both Spanglish, like English, Spanish, however I feel like. But yeah, you
You're a
can follow me there.
bilingual Twitter account, which is something
Yeah,
that's very valuable.
yeah, exactly. However it comes to my mind.
All right, Sophia, thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you listening, make sure you, if you haven't already done so, head over to prizepicks.com. Use that promo code 5. That's FIVE. They will match up to $100 on your deposit when you sign up. Take advantage of that Flex Friday promo. Don't let it go. You get your $20 back if you lose and you bet that $20. So it's really no loss that you can have here. And of course, Biscayne Bay Brewing Company. If you want to find a good place to watch the game, head on over there in downtown Miami. The only brewing company in all of downtown Miami. So head on over there, check them out, and you'll be able to get yourself a nice $6 beer instead of like a whatever beer is. I don't drink beer, like $10 beer normally. I'm not much of an alcohol person, but I digress. Sophia, once again, thank you so much for joining me. And for those of you listening, we will see you all Monday for another episode of Fins Nation.